So for my experiment, I decided to challenge myself by focusing on After Effects and DaVinci to put together a small video using a green screen. My question for the experiment was, how many different green screen backgrounds can be composited onto one short sequence, whilst using different colour grading techniques to enhance the quality and mood of a video. The reason I decided to do this was because in the After Effects lectures I found the software slightly challenging to use, however it intrigued me so I wanted to go further into it. I also find the art of colour grading interesting and have always wanted to learn how to do it, so this experiment was the best way to start that. The sequence didn't have a specific storyline, therefore I decided to create a completely abstract film that goes with music and just have fun with it, whilst mainly focusing on the post-production side.
Something bounce, yo-yo, yo-yo. Something bounce, something bounce, yo-yo. I said that. Something bounce, something bounce, yo-yo, yo-yo. Something bounce, something bounce, yo-yo. I said that.
There were a few things that firstly inspired me to create this video. Colours is a YouTube channel that produces videos of different singers performing their songs in a studio that appears to be a different colour per singer. However, I found out that they use a green screen to create this colourful effect, as it is much easier than setting up loads of different coloured backdrops. I wanted to use this idea in my video experiment, as I had the idea of filming loads of different people in front of a green screen and placing a different colour behind each of them that contrasts well with each of their outfits, so it is more visually pleasing. As I am focusing mainly on post-production for this experiment, I decided to do some more research into the editing style I wanted for this video. Therefore, I looked at the work of Jonathan Amos and Paul Matchless in the film Baby Driver. They both worked as editors on the film directed by Edgar Wright in 2017 and won a BAFTA for Best Editing. When I first watched this film, the editing stood out to me the most because of its quirkiness and how fast-paced it was in certain areas. For example, some cuts in the conversation scenes are quite quick and unexpected, which I really liked. Amos and Matchless have also both worked on films and TV shows with a similar editing style, if not more quirky. For example, Peep Show, Friday Night Dinner and The World's End. All three have a quite distinctive editing style to add to the elements of comedy that is needed. Like in Peep Show, they sometimes use more of a non-continuity style through the use of flashbacks, flash-forwards in time. This research helped reinforce my understanding of the fast-paced cutting style, as it is something I wanted to include in my own work. As well as this, I did some research into how green screens actually work by watching a few YouTube videos and reading some articles on the physical work of it and the theory behind it. Both have helped my understanding of the process. The article I read which helped me the most was How Do Green Screens Work by Mindy Weisberger on the website livescience.com. Green screening is technically called chroma keying, as chroma is colour and keying is the action taken place in post-production, which allows you to separate the colour from the subject and add in an interesting background. The colours green or blue are usually used because they are the most different to human skin tones, therefore it makes it easier to separate. Chroma keying takes video footage and isolates and removes a single colour in a narrowly defined region of the spectrum. Therefore, shadows or a damaged backdrop will not work, as it will be picked up by the chroma key tool. This article has helped me understand the science behind chroma keying more, which has enhanced my knowledge of it when it comes to shooting and editing. Additionally, one of the videos on YouTube I watched was Tips, Tricks and Materials Chroma Key Tutorial by Green Screen Outlet channel on YouTube. This video helped me a lot, as the man explained different aspects of creating a green screen sequence when you're actually in the studio. For example, different camera settings you need to be on and the 3-point or 5-point lighting you could have to make it look better and to make it easier in post-production. He suggested I have a lower ISO on the camera, as it will mean less grain and easier to key in After Effects. As well as this, the aperture needed to be wider to create a large depth of field on the characters, as this will allow an easier key. For my actual experiment, I decided to hire out a green screen room, lights and a camera to film completely abstract shots of my friends in front of the green screen. I originally planned what coloured outfits every person in my video should wear so that no one ends up wearing green. However, I still had issues with the green as my friend had dyed her hair that colour, so when it came to editing the background, her hair was changing colour. However, overall, I'm really pleased with how the edit turned out, as I completely experimented when it came to using After Effects with different overlays, scenes and colours. I began editing on Premiere and cutting all the good clips together. I also tried chroma keying it in Premiere to see if I could, but it didn't work as well, so I just transferred my export onto After Effects so I was able to experiment with the edit even more. Although Premiere does still have good aspects for editing, I much preferred using After Effects. I was able to keyframe specific shots so that the backgrounds I used were more interesting to the aesthetic of the whole video. To begin with, I struggled to get the chroma keying as realistic as possible, and I spent a long time deciding what colour should go behind each person, as I wanted to get the contrast right between the person and the background. It took a lot of attempts at getting the hang of After Effects and how it worked, as I had the post lectures right at the beginning of term, but I definitely got it in the end and I really enjoyed editing it. Once I started to really enjoy what I was doing, I became more creative with the edit. For example, I downloaded quite a few simple, non-copyrighted motion graphics to go in the background of some of the shots. However, I decided to change them up a bit and add in keyframe zooms, camera lens blurs, keyframe flashing colours, and I also layered some shots, changing the opacity with old film glitches to add some edge and texture to the visuals. I had originally planned to also colour grade my video, as I started to get into it through using DaVinci on a few other films. However, I decided when the product was finished on After Effects that it didn't really need any extensive grading, so I just exported everything from After Effects in an Apple ProRes format and put it back onto Premiere to colour correct the faces of the people in the video so that the skin tone was more realistic. I also turned the brightness and contrast up slightly for the light so that was more clean in the overall look of the film. I believe all of this worked really well together and helped me make a creative, abstract and interesting video for my experiment that I will definitely be using techniques I learned from in the future. Additionally, there were a few things that didn't go according to plan, mainly while shooting, even though my main focus was on post-production. In my research, I watched a video that helped me when shooting with the actual green screen, and I had planned all the camera settings and lighting positioning prior to the shoot. However, I had some issues with the room booking as some of the students were in the room when I arrived, so we had to share it, but they needed different lighting to me. I also realised I had only booked one Astra light when I needed at least two to get better lighting, which did end up affecting the quality of the chroma key, but I didn't realise this until I had uploaded it on my laptop, so there wasn't much I could do. This was why some shots at the beginning have some obvious grainy shadows. As well as this, some of the good shots weren't in focus properly and the ISO was too high, so I had to get rid of them, which was hard because the actions taking place in the shots were really cool. For example, one of them was a backflip that would have really suited the look of the film, but at least I've learned to be more careful with the focus pulling when shooting. One other issue was the fact that I didn't think about slowing any of the shots down in post when shooting, so I set the shutter speed quite high so that the shots with more fast movement looked crisp, although I wanted some of the shots to be in slow motion, and when I did it, it didn't work because of the high shutter speed. It just looked like it was sticking, but that's not what I wanted. All of this meant that the green screen was slightly pixelated, so it didn't fully work. However, it still does the job I was intending to do, so it wasn't all bad. Overall, I'm super pleased with my experiment and feel as if I've definitely become more confident in my craft, and it has inspired me to move more towards the editing and post-production side of this industry. I have really enjoyed this side of the course this term, so I chose filmcraft to explore for the rest of my degree, and I'm excited to learn more in this area of film.